Hello and welcome again. This is a sequel stream for the previous stream that I had last week. Fortunately, I was unable to complete the stream because of technical difficulties. And I think for those who are coming back, or for those who, I think I should start with those who did not watch the previous live. And just a recap of what we were talking about during the previous live. I were recently decided to do lives because first because of the account. I think I have an audience in my account. I think I have people who have been supporting me through listening, through commenting, and through constructive criticism, and I like that because I think the whole point of content is to have discourse that can actually be additive and positive sum. I think there's a lot of people outside there who have taken the time to have mental acumen and to actually think through things and to have very valuable opinion. And I take that seriously. And also, I'd like to appreciate the newcomers who've been giving me support and who've been cheering me on as we continue to actually see how we can life, how we can improve relationship, how we can improve ourselves wholesomely. I think the reason why I started doing these lives is because of I have been silently reading and been silently writing, and I needed a platform that is active and proactive in the sense that I can get immediate feedback. And I think YouTube has been quite a tremendous platform in the sense that I've had great growth, which I hadn't ideally perceived while starting. I think 552 viewership in the previous one. I think that is good. I think as we continue, I would also like to diversify whatever this is. At the moment, I really don't have that much equipment, so I'm really working with whatever it is that I have. And I also think for good practice is always important to start with whatever you have because it will also inform in the process as to where you are heading in the great scheme of things. I think I would want this channel to have more intellectuals, more objective thinkers, and just have a healthy and productive conversations. And I would want to strictly keep this under 30 minutes because previously I think I did extend beyond the 30 minutes. And just as a recap of what we were talking about last in the last stream, I'd want to go through them. So I did stumble upon my 2025 resolutions. I'm very traditional in that sense because I like writing down my resolutions. And I think we covered the first five, which was specifically tailored to men. And the reason why I think I want to start with that because I think there's a deficit in masculinity. I think there has been a deficit in masculinity because of the changes in society, the social dynamics have changed. I think most of what we are living or the conditions that we are living in right now have been feminized. The society through technology has made men to lose most of their testosterone. I think we can see around how much toxic masculinity is going around. And this is toxic masculinity as defined by men. I think women do weaponize that term. So there is a skewed definition of what masculinity is. But I really don't want to go into detail when it comes to that. So I'll take you through what we went through in the previous live. I think I mentioned how I conjured these resolutions. I think for me, I tend to approach things in a more systematic way. I do not like resolutions that are objectively, oh no, sorry, that are product related. I like resolutions that are process related. And so I decided to come up with a few. And the first one is to invest in yourself. The second one is to find income and income in brackets, which would mean that this is income that comes to you through the active participation in society, not by this devious means or this thing that is called the deals economy. I think the third one is buy good things for yourself. I think fewer men actually take to the budget, take themselves in consideration while budgeting. I think most men spend money essentially to please women or to gift women or to provide, as it is a masculine instinct. And I think we're really losing. I think we're in an economy whereby you can actually take it upon yourself to actually also afford yourself good things. I think a man who takes care of himself is easy to socialize and be around with. I think a man who neglects themselves normally has the proclivity to turn into an angry, bitter, and resentful person. And so I think that is why I came up with that resolution, because if I could compare my previous year and this current year, I think I've been able to buy good things for myself. And as a reward system, I think it actually gives you better motivation to actually also compound or to actually give yourself to abundance. I think the fourth one, which I kept really talking about, is to have a current read. I think it's important for man or for every masculine male outside there. It's important to also feed your mind. I think a man who has something to say, of course, if you arrive to that point through reading and thinking and writing and also really sharpening your mind, it's easier to talk to you, or it's easier to actually participate in an enterprise with a man who has an active mind. And I think you only sharpen your mind through reading books. I think great ideas exist in books, and the whole discriminatory stance that we have taken, I think it's because of the systems, education system. Most people who actually read were stigmatized. I think now after school is when you realize that you are rewarded, particularly from how much you've read or how much you have thought about critically. And I think a man should always have his current read. I think it's not a shameful act. I think we men should start talking about the pieces of ideas that we get through reading. I think it's a very traditional art form that has been neglected because of the modernity of uh, digitalization. I think we haven't taken the time to actually read. I think that is what we covered in the last live. I'd want to cover the remaining four, and I'd really want to keep it under 30 minutes because it's a Sunday. I think Sunday is a resting day, not for the religious factors, because I really do not subscribe to religion per se, but that's an entirely different conversation. So I think we should get back to the list. I think the fifth, sixth now is that you should have a skill that you're developing. I think a man should always have a skill they're developing, because that is an outlet to your pent up masculinity. Because I think the transitioning from the man who used to go to war to the societal man has left us with a lot of pent up testosterone. I think your way of expressing yourself, it should be by developing a skill. I think you should find a technical skill primarily. I think men are designated co-creators. So an active man is a man who is plugged into the society through a skill. I think the people who tend to be aloof or to promote aloofness in the sense that man should not be the ordinarily working man, a misguiding society. I think we as men, I think the reason why there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of unrest, especially as you saw it in the previous revolt or protests in our country. I think there is a big population of young budding men who are not who have not taken the time to hone their skills. And I mean skills in the most broadest way. I think rhetoric is a skill, or the art of speaking is a skill, the art of thinking is a skill, reading is a skill. Those are rudimentary and foundational skills. Writing is a skill, because I think if you're a good writer by default, you're a good reader. A good reader makes a good writer, and a good writer makes a good speaker, because of how the wholesome the process is. I think you should be able to find a skill that you're developing. I would advise for the coming generation, most technical skills seems to be a good way to actually decompress and declutter. I think plumbing, those are jobs that have been regarded as lower status. But I think for the current cohort of youths who are not who are claiming to be unemployed. I think such skills actually help you express yourself better. I think it also helps you to get your passions going. I think for a man, if you actually freeze, or if you actually store your passions in a frozen state, you get into the depressive, uh, desperate valley very fast. I think for men, you should always be able to have a skill you're developing, and the beauty about it right now is that there are also digital skills. I think I started this channel as an animation channel, as a way to broadcast my animation, and those were skills that I self-taught. Self-taught. I think there's programming skills, web design skills. Of course, with the advent of artificial intelligence, most of those skills might be overrun. But I think AI is just a complementary tool as much as the steam engine or the invention of the wheel or any other technological advancements. I think all of them are just things that are inevitable in the wheel of civilization. So I think we can have a country that has young men and who are proactive, and so I think having a skill that you're developing is a way that also helps you protect or protect your youth. I think as you grow old, particularly for me, what I've come to realize is that the more a man grows old, the more removed and isolated you become from society. I think I used to see this in our fathers, because we seldom saw our fathers walking around with groups of friends. Most of the time, you could see themselves subject most of their time to work and then to coming home later. So I think because of the abundance and the wealth that has been acquired through technology, we have more time. So I think with the disposal of time, you ought to have extracurricular passions or skills that would actually get your juices flowing. I think having a skill for a man, or having a skill that you're currently developing, is a good way to also keep your mind sharp. And also fuel your passions. I think the seventh one, I think I've seen this become very prevalent because of of the society, is it really, or the technology? I can't seem particularly to know which one to blame, but we are living in a society where men, there are few men, very corrupted men, who worship sex, and I don't mean the activity of sex, the idea of it, the idea of sex. The idea of sex, and it has been fashioned into a motivation, or something that causes motivation. So I think sex cannot be your only motivation for men. I think men who are singularly existing in a monotonous diet whereby sex is their only motivation actually cause for concern. I think I've had friends, and I think you must know people who cannot live in a, or who cannot complete a conversation without bringing up the concept of sex, or without showing you a photo of a sexy woman or something. I think it's a troublesome thing, because man cannot live purely on sex. I think a man who diligently and objectively gives themselves to sex is a man who lacks versatility and culture. Is an uncivilized man. I think we can't, especially in our current affairs. I think the worship of women with big butts or something. It's very derogatory. I think it's a very low form of intelligence. I think it's very concerning, because we have taken the civilization, or we have taken evolution back to the monkey and the ape eras. I think man who reward whose only motivation is sex have a very I can't say Machiavellian uh, disposition, but they have a very weird thing. It's difficult to deal with them, because they are definitely people who haven't taken the time to sharpen other facets of themselves. They lack the quality of a grounded man, because when you're driven by lust, you are always predisposed to failing failing in terms of you achieving your ultimate vision or your ultimate objective, you might tend not to go through to the full length of things. I think sex, or generally lust in itself, because lust is the lust for sex, are very is an all-time temptation, or is an all-time sin. I think kings were brought down because of that. I think there's a lot of empires that are were brought down because of that. I've seen men who had prospects because of that. I think the whole point is the primal sense of it. If you don't see that as a weakness prior, you will tend to fall prey to it a lot of times, and it's a very it's a very important thing to actually think about. It's a very important thing to meditate about. I think on 2025, and the reason why I included that is because I have seen on a personal experience how much influence, if you let yourself to it, can have. I think if you are not aware, because you might tend to actually focus more on status signaling rather than actually doing the wealth creation thing, because sex can actually cause you to spend so much money in noise rather than signal. And I think it's a problem which men have not addressed, mostly because the loudest online are men who are immature, who are driven by their physical desires. I think it's not wrong, but it's good to actually be able to integrate your sexual desires with your ultimate or your overall development in your mind, body, and soul. I think you cannot dedicate every single um, cell in your body to objectively to objectively pursue sex. I think so. For 2025, I resolved that sex cannot be my only motivation, because I don't mean in the sense that sleeping with women. I think the whole information diet as well, because there are platforms such as TikToks which are very prevalent with women who are shaking their asses for comments and likes. I think the more you consume that, the more it dilutes your own sense of intellectualism, your own sense of sensibility. Even I think you should be able to train the algorithm so that it gives you information, or it gives you videos that will overally contribute to improving yourself to a higher sense, or as Friedrich Nietzsche calls the Superman, superhuman. I think I can't particularly remember. Let me see if I can draw it out. Yeah, so I think sex cannot be your only motivation. As a man, you're not a monkey. You can think. If you have the capability to think, you should be able to control your urges, and be able to focus more on your objectives rather than just being misguided or being tempted. I think the third for this list, of course, is the eighth overall, is that you should be able to guard your energy. Exist as sources of electricity for the civilization that we have. I think men have actively participated in causing what you can see around most buildings, most infrastructure to the whole civilization was brought about by the energy spent, physical energy spent, mental energy as well, by men. I think we can't take that away from it. I think we're slowly deviating into a very lazy generation, a very lazy civilization, because we have not taken the time to actively also guard our energies. You find that you're spending a lot of energies in things that are not productive, or things that are not proactive. So you tend to be seeing the cropping up of men who are people pleasers. You tend to see men who are spineless. You tend to see men who do not actively have boundaries, for example, because the society has created this system whereby if you are a man and you're guarding your energy, you are a toxic man. I think that is why I was talking about women defining masculinity, because for them, the idea of a masculine male is a man who can be manipulated and used for their own benefit, which is wrong, because a man is a person who's supposed to stand up on his own 2 feet, a man who is a person who's supposed to have boundaries, a principles and value of character, those things which you can't see in the older generations. I think I decided on this 2025 that I will guard my energy, and my principle is that a small company is better than a bad one. So you'd rather have one friend who tests you, who's candid with you, who tells you the truth, who calls out your bullshit. I think we have created quite thin-skinned men who are easily punctured by criticism, objective criticism. I think we have created men who can't fail because of the fear of failure, and it's a whole turmoil that exists in your mind. I think we have created men who are averse to risk. We have created men who have this idea that life is an entitled thing, that life owes them something, and it's a wrong thing. I think so. You should also be able to define your company. As a man, it's always healthy to have 2 or 3 friends of your same intellectual rigor, of the same intellectual level, or even higher, because I think mentors also play a very critical role in the development of a man. I think men should be able to have, dead or alive, and that's why I would always advocate for you to read. I think most of my mentors are from books. Most of people who have been able to test me intellectually are from books. Friedrich Nietzsche was my previous read that actually made me think deeply, and I took one of his books, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. It's a very interesting book. I think it teaches ethics, virtues, morality in a very peculiar and non-mainstream way. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, I think, if I'm pronouncing that well. I think he's also interesting in how he thinks. Oscar Wilde, um, Pride and Prejudice, by most of them. It's very interesting because when I started reading, I always thought that the literature on fiction did not have anything to teach, but I've been proven wrong in a couple of ways. So I think you should guard your energy as a man. Maintain your energy for the useful things. Do not be quick to dispense your energy. Do not be found carelessly rushing in all directions. I I like one of the things I always say that direction is better than speed. It's better than speed. If you as you grow old as a man, for the younger generations who are in their 20s, you find that everything is exhilarating, so you want to rush to doing things. You find that you're spending a lot of energy in doing things just purely for the adrenaline rush, and oftentimes it leaves you empty. But when you grow older, you realize that direction is better than speed, in the sense that if you subject yourself an interesting journey, the view along the journey is way more satisfying than the destination which you would have rushed to achieve. So I think when you guard your energy, you will stop rushing into things that have the lustrous, superficial, shiny surface, but are seldom deep. I think growing up, I've been able to realize that direction is better than speed, and you only get to your destination if you guard your energy. If you find yourself spending energy in things that are frivolous, you will not be able to achieve anything that is meaningful. And I think this year in 2025, I've been able to do that because I started. Cutting off excess weight, or cutting off excess expeditions which did not really seem to be my calling. In a sense, I think I was distracted by success stories. Most of the time you would hear someone say that, oh, this seems to be the in thing right now. So you find yourself in a group or in a mission that is not purposefully your mission, and it you end up spending a lot of energy, and it becomes a very useless enterprise, for the lack of a better word. The last one, because I seem to be approaching the 30-minute mark. The reason why I'm rushing is because I have to get back to work in a few. So the last one is a very particularly specific resolution, but I realized uh, it's a problem. and the resolution that I made on 2025, it's selfish, but it's important because if you are not selfish to some degree, you'll find that you'll be used or misused depending on who you're dealing with. So my last resolve 2025 was do not bring anyone from your past. And it's very interesting because I got it from a quote. The quote says that a man cannot step on a river twice because either the man has changed or the river has changed. So bringing people to your present from the past, it's always. I think we all have that weakness. We forget, and oftentimes when you forget, you are the likelihood to actually repeating a mistake twice. And I think especially in the sense of the romantic sense, relationship sense, you have these moments of weakness whereby you or you might be tempted to bring somebody from your past. And essentially, as you move forward, you find that there's a lot of changes and a lot of development and growth that comes to you, and you have to go through a couple of transfigurations as a man. It's inevitable. So when you bring somebody from your past, you actually it's a very tricky backslide because the person will test you, of course, and they will to the degree that they can actually take you back in your progress. I don't mean that you should be able to, but you should as well. You should be able to cut people off entirely for eternity. Who cares? And it's also important, I think, to have the standpoint whereby if you see that somebody's personality or somebody's energy does not seem to match with yours, and you have come to the conclusive point whereby you feel like they shouldn't be part of your life, I think you should just cut them off completely. Do not bring anyone from your past because either you have changed or either they have changed or life has changed. As a progressive person, I always think that when you move forward or when life moves forward, there is development and growth. Growth is a irreversible change. So you can't force somebody to actually be in congruence with what or who you are, the point that they meet you in the future. So for me, I made it clear in 2025 that I would guard my energy. I will not let I would not let sex be my only motivation. A small company is better than a bad one. I will always have a skill that I'm developing. So if it's a digital skill, because I think I did start with digital. Now I'm in the technical skill sector because I'm doing electrical and electronics engineering right now. I think it's helping me because as a way to express my masculinity in actively building the society. I was also I've made sure that I have a current read always because I think it's good to have good information diet. Have a place where you can go and eat something that nourishes your mind, even just for your own thinking in your own silence. It's good to have things that you enjoy your own thoughts, so you also enjoy your own company as a man. I think you have, or you must have realized that growing up, you tend to be isolating yourself from society. I think I also made it 2025 resolve to buy good things for myself, and I think it's working because right now I actually started enjoying my space, my personal space, because I have things that I've rewarded myself with around my space. So I'm very quick to go into my safe space, for the lack of a better word, because I think safe space is a gentrified word or a phrase. And I also made a resolve in 2025 that I'll find earned income, and it has been very rewarding as well. And with the earned income, I've been able to invest in myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. I would also like to advise you to go and see the previous stream if you find that there's a lot of missing parts or things that you're not understanding. And as we approach the 30-minute mark, I would want to sign out. Thank you for the people who've liked it. I'm still working on improving the whole live stream in terms of time, quality, and and everything else. I think the progression that we are doing is quite commendable, and thank you for being patient. I think this will make sense eventually at some point, because I have an idea, but it's the execution that I'm still juggling with. Thank you, and I wish you a very good week.